Welcome, and in this session we're going to talk about name tags and their importance. First of all, I'll start off with a story that happened to Earl a number of years ago. Since Earl started this ministry, he's always had a meeting on Monday evenings from 7 to 9. And at the end of the meeting, after 9 o'clock, he usually has, and almost always has, a line of people that want to talk to him. At the very beginning, he was the only one doing these, and at 9 o'clock, somebody came. One of the participants came up and said, "Earl, I need to talk to you. What we're doing isn't working." Earl acknowledged that, said, "I understand. Give me a call tomorrow morning, and we can set up a time to meet." And the gentleman said, "No, I need to meet right now. I need to talk to you now." And Earl looked at a line of people that had been there first, and he said, "No, my day starts at 6:30 in the morning. You give me a call, we'll set up an appointment, and then we can talk about that." And he said, "No, I need to talk to you now." And Earl got a little bit frustrated because the gentleman wasn't really listening to Earl, and said, "You know what, just go out and get a sandwich board and walk around town and see if that works." Then away the guy walked off. That was on Monday night. On Friday, in the early evening, Earl was out cleaning up the dishes. His wife was out watching the local news, and all of a sudden heard his wife, Sarah, say, "Oh, Earl, you got to come and watch this." Well, Earl had no idea what was going on. Thought it was another 9/11. What could have happened? Couldn't have been good. So he gets there, and all of a sudden he sees on the local news this gentleman out on the circle in downtown Indianapolis with a sandwich board saying that he was looking for a job and passing out his business cards. And Earl just looked and thought, "Oh my gosh." Well, that was on Friday evening, and so Monday for the 7 o'clock meeting, here comes the gentleman, and the gentleman looks at Earl, and Earl looks at the gentleman, and Earl's smiling, and he goes up to him and says, "You know I was just kidding, don't you?" Well, the gentleman said, "Yes, I did." But he says, "I was so frustrated that I just had to do something different." And in the end, he had found that he had gotten 3 or 4 resume or offers for an interview, and ended up finding a job. And he was an engineer, so he was he was a professional, and he was able to find a job that way. Now, are we suggesting that you go out and use some type of sandwich board? No, although some people may want to think that might work. It did for this gentleman. But what we're saying is that you use a name tag, and I have one that I use. Now, you want to do it a little differently than what I have, but you're going to have your name on it. I hope you can see this. Without the shadow, you can see that it has my name, and then in this case I just have passport to employment. Of course, you're going to have yours a little different. You're going to have your name on it, you're going to have seeking employment, and then you're going to looking for as a bank manager or an engineer or whatever it is, administrative assistant. It does not matter. And we're suggesting, usually you get these types of things. I got this when I was going through something or other. Most people have these. You can also go to Walmart and buy them. You can probably get 10 of them for a couple bucks and maybe sell them to other people. Actually make a little profit. So anyway, we have a couple other examples of how this works. So Earl had been working with a gentleman. Again, this goes back a few years ago, and telling him he should have a name tag and wherever he goes. And the guy kind of poo-pooed it and said, "No." He says, "I don't think that's going to work." And finally, one Monday night, he walks in, he's got his name tag. He tells Earl, "I hope you're happy now." And Earl was happy, but it was kind of a sarcastic remark, I guess I would say. And so anyway, 9 o'clock, the meeting's over on a Monday night. The gentleman lives in Carmel. He goes up Range Line Road from the church and stops at Kroger. Picks up a few things. Now this, you have to realize, is at 9:30 at night, because he just left the church at 9. So he's going through the checkout, and he has his name tag on saying that he's a bank manager. And the cashier looks at him and says, "Oh, interesting, you're a bank manager?" And he goes, "Yeah, I was with National City and PNC bought us, and they closed my branch, and I got laid off. He goes, oh, that's interesting. My husband is with Fifth Third, and he is in charge of the managers, and he's got a group of managers that are going through the management process right now, and he told me that he's very concerned because he doesn't feel like the managers that he has, these group of managers, are really ready, but upper management saying, yeah, we got to run them through here. So they exchanged information, and 3 or 4 weeks later, gentleman's the branch manager in Avon for Fifth Third Bank. If without the name tag, there was no way that conversation was going to happen. There was no way there was going to be any type of relationship because he wasn't advertising it. Second of all is another thing. When Earl first started this ministry, he used to meet at Panera Bread, and they would just set up in a back section of somewhere. And Earl went up, had his name tag on. Earl always wears his name tag, and was getting a cup of coffee. And the lady that was at the cashier said, oh, what's Passport to Employment? So Earl gave him his 30-second infomercial, and she goes, do you mind if I stop by when I'm finished doing a couple of things here? And he goes, oh, sure, everybody's welcome here, which they are. And so she came back, and of course everybody knew what was going on. She was not happy with her current job, and wanted to see what was going on, how she might be able to find a job. Well, she gets over there and she explains that she's in HR, Human Resources for Panera, and in fact that they were looking for some for help. And so what happened is, because of, again, the name tag, if it hadn't been for the name tag, there's no way this individual lady would have known about Earl or the Passport to Employment ministry. And she ended up hiring 2 or 3 people. Now, those were probably just short-term types of work, but fact is that they were able to get connection with Panera because of one thing, and that's the name tag. So again, we suggest you have a name tag, you wear it wherever you are, and whenever you're out, and you'll find that people are interested in helping you find a job. And those name tags can be very, very helpful.